There will be riots like you've never seen in this country. There'll be no election. No South African will go to the polls if MK is not on the ballot.
And in news from Retardistan, communist parties threaten to burn the country down if they are not on the ballot for the 2024 election, and libs everywhere are losing their minds.
So this is the news that the MK party basically says if you exclude us from the ballot, we'll burn the country down and make it ungovernable. Clearly they don't live in Retardistan. It's already burnt down and ungovernable. I mean, what more could they possibly do to Retardistan? Give us no electricity? Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, we really are scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of what possibilities are around for people to destroy things. But one thing that you have noticed, but possibly, Byron, is that the IEC is really screwing over small parties. By the time you watch the video, BOSA, which is Busi Mamani's party, is going to say that they're not going to be on the ballot because they didn't get enough signatures. The referendum party down there in the Western Cape are not getting enough signatures. You need like 13,000 signatures, and there's confusion about digital versus manual signatures and all the rest of it. And I think the MK are maybe struggling to get signatures. Or maybe the ANC's court case against them for copyright of MK is going to win, and therefore they won't be on the ballot due to copyright reasons. Which is something that we said a long time ago, if I remember correctly. ANC taking on the MK in court over copyright reasons is terribly a bad idea because the MK are going to burn down KZN. And now they're threatening to do that once again as well. But not to be outdone, the Daily Maverick has come out to say the IEC must do something about this, Byron. They must do something.
I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm going to fact check you. It's not 13,000 signatures. 13,000 signatures they could probably do. It's 50. That's why they're struggling. 50,000 signatures. It's a lot of signatures. And remember that what they've also got to do is finalize the nomination list. The two things are kind of connected. Because a lot of the smaller parties are saying they can't get the 50,000 signatures to appear on the ballot. The IEC's argument will then be, well, then you're not actually a serious party, and why are you contending for a national election? Remember, it costs a lot of money to include these people. And there's like 300 something parties. So the next thing they've got to do is then finalize who's actually going to be on the nomination list. I mean, we've discussed this in videos before. MK hasn't actually nominated anybody. We don't know who's actually going to lead it, who's going to be the leader. Jacob Zuma's face may appear on it as the publicity stunt to get the vote, but he can't actually run the thing because remember, he has a criminal conviction. So who's actually going to be there as the, I don't know, shadow minister for police or something? Well, I don't know. And neither do they. So who's actually going up for the local elections? Which municipalities are they going to put people up and nominations up in? We don't know. And that's actually the problem. So let's not divorce this from what's also happened. The IEC were asked, and this was a court case, to say, can you actually push back the electoral date? Can we not have it in May? Can we have it a bit later? Because there's more time to get the signatures and put forward the nominations and so forth. And the ANC is not doing that. And the IEC basically says, it's not for us to dictate. And you're probably not going to have a success in court. So MK doesn't really actually have a lot of options here. They can't nominate the relevant people who's actually going to contest the elections. Probably not going to get the signatures needed. 50,000 is substantial. And they've still got the copyright infringement case that the ANC will raise. Now, remember, the ANC doesn't actually have to win the case. They have to basically do the Stalingrad point, which is the case is in dispute, and therefore you can't use it, so you can't actually use that going into the election. That's really all they're going to do, and the ANC are masters of Stalingrad, and the elections aren't actually that far from now. So MK's response is, well, if we don't get our own way, we'll burn the place down. It's pretty logical, I suppose, if you live in Retardistan, that is.
Yeah, it's a very logical outcome of, sort of communist parties all over the place. But what is interesting to me is that how are we expected, assuming MK is on the ballot, assuming it gets 10% of the vote or whatever the case might be, how in the world are these parties going to work together after the fact? This notion, people have said to us numerous times how wrong we are on Morning Shot because MK is just the ANC in drag to get the ANC back onto the ballot, what. But the more they release videos of the MK, people shooting guns at the shooting range or people going to rallies and saying, if we're not in the ballot box, we're going to burn everything down and the ANC is enemy number one and all the rest of it. I think there's true animosity here. And Jacob Zuma has been driving a huge wedge into Zulu nationalism at all costs, saying, Tswana speakers don't come here in KZN. We don't, really think that you're worthy of speaking to, notably, because Cyril speaks Tswana. This is hatred. It's not just a difference of opinion. It's not just, oh, we are political jousters, in this liberal sense of debate and shit like that. No, like these are mortal enemies. And I think they want to destroy each other at all costs. So maybe, Byron, not that, I'm advocating for violence, maybe we should put MK, EFF, and the ANC together in a national coalition after the fact, after the vote, and maybe instead of burning down the country, they'll just burn down each other.
Well, funny you say that, Ramon, because that's actually exactly what's happening in KZN. So what we are actually seeing is the violence between MK and the ANC, which is reminiscent to what the violence was with the IFP and the ANC. You remember way back when the ANC used to massacre the IFP for sport? Yeah, that's happening with MK. So it's funny that when they re-embrace the MK roots, they basically just go back to killing each other. So you could literally infer that a coalition of these guys would be violent. And you may say, oh, you guys are full of shit, and that would never happen. Yeah, that did happen. That recently happened with the EFF and the ANC, who literally landed up in a fist fight in a municipality over a potential stolen phone.
And for more info on that, you just have to watch tomorrow's video. But for today, just know, I think MK really, really, really mean it when they say they're going to burn the country down if they're not on the ballot box. And as we said on Morning Shot, in Retail Danistan, you don't go to court for copyright for political reasons. Because that is like the weakest, lamest, most beta reason to take MK off of the ballot. Beat them fair and square first. Don't go to court. Do you think the ANC listens to us? No, they don't. And there you go. MK is going to burn everything down.
Yeah, with that being said, I mean, even if they contest the elections free and fair, because apparently, you must also remind yourself now that we are going into election season, and the multi-party Charter coalition has basically invited the West over to see if the elections are free and fair. And the ANC said, well, if you invite your people, we invite our people, who are like Russia and China and Cuba and stuff. And those guys are all very notorious for having free and fair elections in communist states where there's no one else in the ballot box. So the ANC says they're going to get those guys out, and they're going to determine that their elections are free and fair. Yeah, the MK is not going to win this, mate. And it's going to be very difficult for them to get the required amount to unseat the ANC. The ANC look like they're going in for a mostly peaceful protest, also known as an election, most free and fair ever in South Africa. But I think we probably can determine it's going to be reminiscent to, let's call it, some of the most fiery protests that we've seen. Only this time it's an election. So stock up on ammo.
Yeah, stock up on ammo, stock up on water, stock up on canned beans. Irony being, the Civil War won't be between white and black. It'll just be, as always was, black on black violence.